Yo, 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 welcome to another edition of the Geeky Bros Podcast. I'm your boy Tactix.
Yo, it is just Darcy here.
And this is Big Geek Umar. How y'all doing today?
Oh, so good. So
So
good.
good.
It's good
It's
to
a
be
full
back.
house again, man. Full
I
house.
know, I know. It's been a while. It's been a while.
hmm
We're back from hiatus and we're back all together as a group. So it was a good day for me.
hmm
Happy
Awesome.
Friday.
Happy
Yeah.
Friday. That's what's
Mm-hmm.
up.
And s-
So just a quick piece of housekeeping for those of you who are new who are watching, or for those of you who have who are watching after our live video or our live posting. We are going to be discussing a lot of geeky news that came out. Well, Jesus, like the geeky news just keeps on coming. So we're definitely going to have some stuff to talk about next week as well. But there are going to be timestamps in the description. We're going to be discussing the DC Studios news and also any additional general geeky news. So be sure to check the timestamps in the description to go to the topic that you want to hear. But our first bit is a little somber. Actually, more than a little somber. It's actually tragic. Uh, I will admit that I don't know too much about this artist, but I was aware of his passing. DJ Twitch. He is, from what I understand, a renowned dancer and DJ. But I'm going to let T take it over because he was the one who actually informed me about him and also provided me with videos for me to understand. So, T, how about you take this in memorial?
Yeah, so news broke out a couple days ago that DJ Twitch, also dancer, man of many talents, passed away. Well, not just passed away. He actually took his own life, uh, and left behind his beautiful wife and his three kids. And for those who don't know him, he was one of the DJs, or he was the main DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show that is now off air. I believe they went off air this early this year, and this, of course, was heartbreaking for a lot of people who knew him or knew of him or knew his body of work, myself included, because I'd been following DJ Twitch. It's so weird to say DJ Twitch because I mean I know him initially as a dancer, but I've been following him for quite some time in terms of his career. I mean, he first started off on a show called The Wade Robson Project, which was a dance show, before making his way to So You Think You Can Dance and making it all the way to the finals and being the runner up for first place. And he's showed up in numerous movies such as Step Up, Magic Mike 2. Um, he made quite a career for himself, and he I didn't know him personally, unfortunately, but just based off of like public perception, he was always so full of joy and light and had the biggest smile, always so energetic, charismatic, and always dancing, obviously. And he just seemed to always light up a room. And it's really quite sad because you never really know what a person is struggling with, what kind of like inner demons they're battling,
Yeah.
and it it's rough, especially as men, because I noticed that there's still this stigma that men find it very difficult to open up and express their emotions or even identify their emotions, and they often have to suffer in silence. And it's a real shame because a lot of people are really good, and this is the scary thing, a lot of people are really really good at hiding their pain, and
Yeah.
they can put on a facade or put on, like, wear masks and go out into the public eye and pretend as if everything is cool, and then go home and just be alone in their misery. And that's really scary. That's a really scary thing to have to deal with. And I don't want to take up too much time because I want you guys to chime in as well. But um what I will say in this regard, and I said it in my briefly in my story, honoring Twitch's his unfortunate demise, but the importance of checking in on your people, the people closest to you. I have the luxury. I mean, we all, and I speak. I can can fairly speak for everyone here, that I have the luxury of having a really good support system. My two colleagues here, for example, Darcy actually recently came by. I think it was last week, and we were just shooting the shit. And he brought food over. I just come back from surgery, and he just wanted to chill and hang because we hadn't done it in a while. I used to see Darcy all the time because I used to train him on a weekly basis, and then he came by, and I remember very vividly. And I don't know if he was aware of this or that if this was an intentional thing that he just does, but after the whole Twitch thing and me thinking about it, it really spoke volumes in terms of our interaction. And Darcy's like, before we get into business, he asked me, he was like, how are you? And I just gave a typical generic answer. Like, I was like, yeah, like, work is work, and school's got me a little bit stressed. And Darcy interrupted me. He's like, no, like that's good and everything, and like I'm glad that you're getting through that, but like, how are you? And that like hit home for me because I was just like, I the context of the question was so deep rooted, and it made me think. It was just like, oh, this is a guy. This is like what separates like a bro from a brother. You know what I mean? Like when it's like it's not just people asking, oh, how, like, what's up, or how are you doing, just for the sake of like saying, oh, I did the bare minimum to check in on you. No,
I
like,
checked the box.
yeah, exactly. I checked the box. I've done my part, kind of thing. But like Darcy was like, no, like, how are you? Like what's good, man? Like what's going on? Like, are you good? And I really appreciated that. So Darcy, thank you for that. Umar, you're the same way, man. Like you go out of your way. You're probably one of the nicest guys I know, almost to the point where it's like when we first met, I I was
You
like, there's no way this guy is this nice. What's going on? Like what's up here, man? You know what I mean? Um but what I'll say to that is that, you know, another thing that I notice is that when not only are men, or just people in general, but mostly men, not only are they suffering in silence, but a lot of these people where you hear them like taking their own lives, I feel like the general consensus, or the commonality between all of them is that they give so much of themselves to other people that they forget to give back to themselves. And I think when you have such a big open heart to the point where you just want to see, you're tired of seeing the world suffer, so you want to do as much as you can to help the world, but it's almost at your own, it's
at your own cost.
it's at your own cost, basically. And I think that's a dangerous line to tread, where you give so much of yourself to other people that you completely neglect yourself, and you don't know how to help yourself. And so, yeah, I'm not saying that that's the case with Twitch. I'm, again, I didn't know him, but he did come off as someone who had a huge heart, and just listening to everyone else speak very highly of him, it was very clear that he touched a lot of people in a very inspiring and uplifting way. And I don't know, I don't even want to begin to try and assume that I understand or get what he was dealing with, but my heart goes out to his family and everyone closest to him. And yeah, it really does suck.
Darce?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, well, thanks, T, for the kind words. I'm just gonna start it there, and then second, I mean, obviously, my condolences to his family, and the difficulties that they're facing right now. The thing that, like, I mean, I don't know a lot about him. I just knew him from being the DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show, but I can't like speak to much of his legacy or anything to that effect. But I mean, this and what we also, a tragedy we've seen recently, is just more of an emphasis that we do need to be reaching out and asking how people are, but like not just asking that surface level, and being open to listening to what the response is, right? Like you have to make yourself emotionally available to allow the person to actually be emotionally vulnerable. And so the one thing I would say to this is like, for the guys listening, reach out to your homies and know that like it might be uncomfortable to ask those questions, but if it's uncomfortable to ask, it's uncomfortable to say, but you're all uncomfortable, so you might as well just get uncomfortable together and and be there for each other. And for the ladies, reach out to the guys that the one thing I seeing these events, something that I've been thinking about is like people being affected by it and then not being reminded to take the same actions to reach out to their people. So make sure to not just see it and then just be affected by this, but what can you do for the people in your life is what I want to take away from it. So yeah, Umar.
As I said before, I only knew about DJ Twitch from Tactix's post. So like I can't even speak to him at all. But like you're right. Like both of you are right. Like this does bring home like I know we're focusing on males, but at the same time, our socialization has been not to kind of have these conversations, not to talk to others and like the quote unquote like man up or like to be strong and like get shit done. But like I really resonate with what both of you were saying, and also what this tragedy does force us to at least highlight, like maybe a parting gift in a very tragic way, is to be thankful for the support system that you have if you have one, or to maybe take this as a way to improve your support system, or like just be able to like help those around you without even really doing much. Like I'm lucky because my bros in this chat in our podcast are also like my best friends, and like the reason why they're my best friends, and also the reason why they're in my opinion a superb support system, is yeah, they're there when I need to laugh. Yeah, they know how to make me laugh. Yeah, we get to talk about all these great things, but also, yeah, they're there when I need them to listen. But also, they're there when I need someone to call me on my shit, or for me to get some feedback or tough love, or even just not to make it weird, but like some like legit love. So those are the people you want to keep going back to, and those are the people you want in your life, because it's all about sincerity and like vulnerability, like Darcy and Tactix are saying. So take this podcast, take this tragedy, and just don't check the box. Find out how your friends and family are really doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think just to close it off, for anyone who is struggling, for one, definitely go out and reach out to your people. Or go and get help. There's suicide
services.
lines that can. There's so many different resources that can help you, and we should probably put that in the description
Absolutely.
After the show. But the second thing I would recommend is get offline and get into the real world, because social media it can be a very valuable resource, but it can also be a cancerous place to be as well, because as I say, perception is reality, and what you see a lot of the times online is not real, and it perpetuates this false narrative that basically tricks your mind into thinking that you will never amount to the things that you are often subjected to. And I'm speaking on personal experience because I know what it's like to fall victim to the things that you see online, and try to get into that state of comparison. So if you find yourself getting into that mental state as well, then unplug from the matrix, man, and get out into the real world. Start socializing with your people, like actually socializing. Not social media is not socializing. Go out and Go see a movie with your boys or your girls, or try something new. Get out into the real world, man. There's life beyond Facebook and Instagram. I promise you.
Yeah, and I would say, like, just to finally add on, especially after the pandemic, we've kind of had to rely on social media as like just a lifeline. But things are better now. I won't say that things are over, but things are better now. I mean, go for a walk outside. Like it may be cold outside, but like bundle up and go for a walk and talk to your friends, talk to your family, or there's no shame in it. There's no weakness in it. Use the resources, use the hotlines, and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, moving on. So, to get into our usual type of conversations, there has been a shit ton of articles, posts, Instagram posts, Twitter tweets, and just all around lots of conversation going on from DC Studios. And we're used to hearing some shit going down, like people getting fired. Oh my God, we covered the Ezra Miller stuff so much, but like this, this is different. And depending on how you see it, this is either very positive or you just are sick and tired of it at this point. But nonetheless, we are living through some interesting times with news coming out of DC Studios. So as we've discussed before, James Gunn and Peter Safran have taken over as presidents of DC Studios and are basically in charge of creating the DCU after the slow and steady demise of the DCEU, which was our earlier movies.
E for effort. Couldn't help it. Had to be said.
I like that. That's a good one. So the first bit of news we got was Wonder Woman 3 will not be happening. There have been a sling of cancellations. The first one we were to hear was Wonder Woman 3. There also has been like a stream of gossip and rumors and like articles about how Patty Jenkins, the director of the first two Wonder Woman movies, kind of was like fuck you guys, or I want to bring Steve Trevor back, or whatever you want. But James Gunn and Patty Jenkins have made their official statements. You can take it with a grain of salt, or you can take it at a face value, that they are good. They just are like, we're going a different direction. In fact, okay, like all of the conversations we're going to be having going forward, it really doesn't sound like there's a lot of animosity out there in terms of the artists, actors, and James Gunn and Peter Safran, which kind of goes to something our boy. Let me just say this. I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say this on air. I'm going to say it right from the top. Darcy was right.
Yeah, boy.
Darcy has been calling shit left, right, and center for the last couple of weeks, and this week was like, we going to agree with him. He knows what he's talking about. So Darcy's been calling some stuff regarding James Gunn and Peter Safran in terms of how they're going to handle things, how are they going to like deal with stuff, and how the people are going to react. And they've been doing that. He's been cleaning house. He's been cleaning house, and there has not been any significant fallout other than fans being upset. But like fans be upset, like people got mad when Michael Keaton got cast as Batman. People got mad when when Robert Pattinson got named as Batman, and people got mad when Daniel Craig got named as James Bond. Let's just say the fans are going to get upset no matter what happens. And James Gunn basically said, like last week, I'm going to make some decisions. Some of you will be mad. Other of you are just going to be like, basically he knows he's done 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies and a special. Also, he's done Peacemaker. My man has experience
and Suicide Squads and Suicide Squad.
Yep. My bad. Nonetheless, James Gunn knows us. He knows our ether. He knows it's toxic as shit. He knows that we love him as much, and he knows that people just don't like. They're just waiting to see what the movies come out. Nonetheless, he knows, and he's basically said, "Y'all just like hold off." people didn't hold off because they freaked out. But nonetheless, here we are. So Wonder Woman 3 got canceled. I want to hear what my bros have to say about this. Darcy, seeing as how you're the prophet here tonight, let's see what you got.
I mean, if this was Wonder Woman 2 that got canceled, I might feel differently. Like, what I mean by that is if we only saw the first film and then we got to cancel, I'd be like, oh man, she was on a good stride. But after that second film, I mean, like, they didn't go out on a high. This is all I gotta say. I mean, you're gonna hear a repetition of what I'm about to say here, but like, they got to clean house, and it's either you are going to make it work with the material that you already have, or you're gonna start new. Like, there is no real in between here. There might have been like 4 or 5 years ago, but there ain't no in between now. So it's just like, yeah, Wonder Woman 3. I didn't have faith in it anyways. Like, I was not looking forward to it. I mean, they were going to have to hit me some hard trailers to make me want to go after that 1984. That's all I got to say.
Okay. T?
Yeah, so when I first initially heard the news, I was a little disappointed, mainly because of that Batman Beyond cancellation. That one hurt, but I do agree with what Darcy said off air regarding that, where it's like if you're gonna clean up house, and you got to clean up everything, and some things got to fall by the wayside, and I understand that. And on top of that, we have Robert Pattinson's Batman. We have Michael Keaton's Batman. We have Ben Affleck's Batman. There's just too many Batmen in the mix, and it gets a little bit confusing for the non comic book like fandom, basically, right? So
The layman.
Yeah, right. So they definitely don't want to have that problem, so they kind of have to scrap everything. And also, I was kind of looking forward to Henry Cavill coming back as Superman, because I felt like he deserved to have another go at it, especially considering that by Justice League he was starting to kind of ascend into the Superman that we know and love. Like, you could see like a little like smidget of it happening in him, and then he never got that opportunity. But I was watching John Campea speak briefly on this, and they were basically just pretty much reiterating and talking about the cancellation. And John Campea is like an avid, like, he's gone on record of saying like he would marry Henry Cavill, like if he could, like that's his like that's his man crush kind of thing, right? So
let me contextualize this a little bit, because we were just talking about Wonder Woman 3.
Oh, so like, sorry, my bad. I jumped the gun a little bit. Okay, but my point. Okay, but my point is, I think that James Gunn has a plan, and I'll speak a little bit more in depth about where I was going with the whole Henry Cavill thing. But given what he's done so far in terms of Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad, he has a really good track record. He knows what he's doing. And on top of that, not only is he taking over DC, he also knows how to shoot movies. He knows how to direct. So he has that creative side of him that is really going to benefit. Right. Yeah. So with that being said, I feel like, he's got a solid plan, and this is kind of what we have been preaching or craving for the last however long, right? And so we're still kind of on the fence, because he hasn't really announced anything. We don't really know what the plan is. We just know that there is a plan, and I feel like prior to him taking the reins, like, there was no real solid plan. They were just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. Right, like the fact that they did Black Adam like before, like this Black Adam as a standalone film, and not introducing him in Shazam just didn't make any sense to me. So clearly they don't know what they're doing. Well, they didn't know what they're doing, but now they have the handle on things.
So okay, like so I'm going to come back to you in a sec. So like, just to contextualize this conversation, we were just talking about Wonder Woman 3. However, we found out that not just Wonder Woman 3, but like a planned Batman Beyond project, which was going to have Michael Keaton as Old Man Bruce Wayne. And for those of you who don't know, Batman Beyond is based off a cartoon that ran in the early 2000s,
And
which
it was
had
so good.
it
It
was
was
so
so
fucking
good.
good. It was so good. And honestly, Michael Keaton coming back as Old Man Bruce Wayne was literally the perfect casting that we have desperately wanted. And I will agree with you, T. This project being canceled did hurt a little bit. However, I didn't have faith with the original helmers of the DCEU to get this right. So while I would have been happy, I also would have been like living in dread of what that movie was going to be like. But also on top of that, we heard that Man of Steel 2 is very likely not going forward. And we have talked about in the previous podcast that Henry Cavill was coming back as Superman, but it has now been revealed, and it came from Henry Cavill himself that he and Peter Safran and James Gunn have met, and they're going their separate ways because they want to tell a brand new Superman story. So we'll talk about that in a second. But also, it's unlikely that there's going to be a Black Adam 2, and it's unlikely that there's going to be an Aquaman 3 with Jason Momoa. So that is currently, and also we've recently heard that Robert Pattinson's The Batman doesn't have a place in James Gunn's DCU. So it's possible that that could just be over as well. So that is all the DC information. So now we're going to go back and we're going to talk about it. And Tactix, you've got started us off. So you've told us about Batman Beyond. You told us, but take us through what you think about the Henry Cavill exit.
Okay, so when I was watching the John Campea show, he had mentioned what you just said about how James Gunn and Henry Cavill, they actually met. So it wasn't just a call. They actually met in person and talked about their plans going forward and how they wanted to tell a Superman story from his younger years, and so they're starting off fresh. But
it's like Clark Kent story being an investigative journalist, when he first gets to Metropolis.
Yes, exactly. However, the fact that they met, and John Campea brought this up, and I'm thinking about it too, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes sense because this could have just been told through a phone call, but James Gunn went out of his way to set up a meeting with Henry Cavill to say, hey, listen, this is not the direction that we want to go in. We know that you were announced to be returning to play Man of Steel again, but we're going in a different direction. However, John Campea had alluded to part of the conversation where he said that we still want to talk about a potential role for you in the DCU in the DC universe or whatever they're calling it right now. Later on down the line, what that is, we don't know. So now it has me thinking, okay, well, if he's cleaning up house and knowing James, the type of guy he is, and how everyone speaks so highly of him, what if, even though he's not going forward with any of these properties, what if he instead is going to have the same actors show up but playing different roles? So for example, Jason Momoa recently came out. He made a video stating that he had spoken to James Gunn, and there's a potential for he's got really exciting news. And I don't think it had anything to do with Aquaman.
It's probably about the rumors about him being
Lobo. So again, that further just reiterates what I'm getting at, basically, where it's like, okay, he's no longer going to be Aquaman, but he's going to be a different DC character. So what if they're setting up Henry Cavill to be a different DC character? He's passed his cape on, or he's going to pass his cape on to somebody else, but he might play a different pivotal role, maybe a villain, maybe Jonathan Kent, although I feel like he deserves something better than Jonathan Kent, but
he's a bit young for that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, well, I mean, if they're going for a younger Superman, then
he's still a bit young for that. Jonathan Kent was in his 50s when Clark was.
Yeah, but it depends on what kind of what we're talking about here. Are they gonna do it like a Smallville type of thing where Jonathan was more in I think he was maybe 40. But he looked like a young guy. I think he was maybe 50, but
okay.
still. But I'm not saying that he's going to be Jonathan Kent. I think they would give him a bigger role than that, given who he played previously, right? Like, I mean, they're going to give him something better than that. But what I'm
Perry White.
Definitely not Perry White. But I feel like James Gunn feels bad about the fact that they're cleaning house, and he's going to be like, listen, like, we still love your body of work. Gal Gadot, you did your thing as Wonder Woman. It's not really quite working out in terms of our vision, but here's what we want to have you show up as in the future of DC, kind of thing.
How about you, Darcy? What do you think about like this entire shakeup and also like the Henry Cavill thing?
For the most part, I love it. I mean, there's a couple sore spots in there for me, probably, you know, like Henry Cavill leaving, but like the reason I've been calling this, and this goes all the way back to, I forget his name, but the like head from Discovery when they bought out Warner Brothers Discovery.
Hameda?
No, that was the old WB.
Zalsov?
Yeah, something like close to that. Anyways, yeah. So Hameda, who was the old head, I have no love or sympathy for him. I honestly think that like all these last minute announcements when James Gunn was coming in and these announcements were still coming out was him being like trying to save his job and be like, I'll finally listen to the fans. like the whole time we're asking for like years for them to do certain things and they're like, oh, we're just gonna do it all at the end. It was gonna be crap. But So the thing is like, do I know all the inner workings of this business? No, but I know leadership. And when the head of Discovery came in and started looking at it and going, this is all messed up, and started cleaning house and cutting things, and everyone was freaking out about it, I'm like, that's the best thing you want. Because the worst leader you want comes in to a mess and tries to make it work as is. If it's that bad, you have to cut everything, right? You have to start cutting all the executives, and he like found like $2.5 billion in savings on executives like bonuses, and it's like, I'm like, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
No, that's not a small thing,
right? Like that is movies getting made right there without having to go to get your financiers, right? Like that alone starts the DCU. So the fact that he was cutting house meant, okay, he's gonna clean up DC inside what they're doing. Then he goes and gets somebody who is both in a team of guys who've worked together, who literally one side's the creative mind and the other side's the business mind. Safran being more the business mind. That's how they work together, and they have a track record. But it's a track record where, like, as much as like people might love this movie more than that one, or you know, that, like, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was great, 2 was not as good, but it was still a really good film, all that kind of argument. They have really good heart. And so I think he's going to build a great universe. I'm excited about all of that. Yeah, some people are going, that kind of sucks. I like what Tech's saying about people showing up as other characters. I mean, Lobo like couldn't be better. I think, you know, like there's a part of me who's like, oh, what if the young Superman ages up really quickly and Henry Cavill comes back? But that's not going to work. So the part of me that really wants Henry Cavill to come back I want him to come back as a villain. Like we haven't seen this man do a villain, and he's so imposing. Ever since I had the idea of him being Dr. Doom, I'm like, I just need to see this man as a villain. So if he comes back and he's like Brainiac or something, Zod. No, Zod. I mean, that's just playing himself again. Like, just, like it's just too easy.
Brainiac would be. I wouldn't say Brainiac for him, but I would. It would be.
You know what? As
Parasite.
I think about
Metallo.
It doesn't have to be a Superman villain. It could be something else.
Okay, fine.
But actually, as you said though, I kind of like him playing Zod. I kind of like that in a way, because it's kind of like, but Zod is, he's a young Superman against. I'm not saying in the first film, because I do not need a Zod in the first film, like not again. but
we have too much Zod.
Yeah, but like playing Zod down the line could be interesting. However, I also don't want more Zod, so forget that idea. Regardless, overall, like, you know, of all the list of all the movies and whatnot, like I'm not mad about you know, let me see here. I'm not mad about Wonder Woman getting cut. I'm not mad about Aquaman getting cut. I'm definitely not mad about Black Adam getting cut. And if they haven't, like, we're just gonna wait for James Gunn to come out here and basically it's like the old universe is done. Here's what the new universe is. Like,
Which is what we've wanted.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing that I don't want to have happen is like there's some existing properties that are going to have to play themselves out. Joker 1, Joker 2, it's obviously coming out. The money's already there. The Flash, it's a done deal. It's too far. The train's already gone. It's not under his control. And he said after Aquaman 2 is when things are going to start to happen. The only thing I don't want to have happen is the new Batman being completely cut. I wouldn't mind it be like, let the man have his trilogy, let him do his little thing, and then then phase it out. I just don't cut this because it's like this is solid craftsman work here. And if they're not gonna be in the same universe, because they don't need to be, but like I'm not saying that has to happen, but if that's not gonna work, don't cut this man short because it's quality work. At least give me one more film. Let me just get one more film from this guy. But I think he wanted a trilogy, so let the man have his trilogy. That's the only thing that's like for me is like sacred. It's just don't touch Matt Reeves' work. Let him do what he does, and then we can recognize that's a separate thing. Totally.
Yeah, but like, what do you think of the Batman Beyond being canceled?
Oh yeah, that was the other one I forgot. I mean, it sucks in concept, but I think it would have sucked in execution. So, I would rather it show up like 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now under James Gunn's tutelage than it come out under a latch ditch effort to keep a job and a bonus.
Okay, so this kind of leads to a question that I want to ask both of you, and this is slightly unscripted, but like, here I am. So we have Aquaman 2 coming out, we have The Flash coming out, we have Shazam coming out, and we have I feel there's a fourth one.
Are they doing? They're doing a Blue Beetle too, right?
That's in development, but I'm not sure if that's still going through. Like we
just ain't gonna make it. That ain't gonna make it.
Yeah, I don't like. I want it to happen, but I just don't see that happening.
Unless they filmed it.
No, because I feel like they have. Because I've seen some test photos.
Test photos, yes, but I don't.
Sorry. Set photos. Like a dude in the suit. It's the guy from Cobra Kai who's playing Blue Beetle.
Okay. Well, okay. Nonetheless, we have those three projects coming out, and do you two believe that there should be a 5-year break between the end of the DCEU and the start of the DCU? Tactix, let's start with you. What do you think on
that? If they need 5 years to develop everything, like put everything together, then yes. But if they're just taking that 5 years to kind of like clear the air and like create some separation between the DCEU and the DCU, then no, I don't think that's necessary. I feel like they should just kind of get on the ball, get things moving, especially with like Marvel kind of like at a standstill, right? Well, not so much a standstill, but they're kind of trying to figure things out right now. So
we'll get to that. But
so yeah, so I mean, if they have the plan already, then strike while the iron's hot and put the plan in motion. I personally don't feel there's a need to wait. That being said, take your time with each property, right? Don't feel like you have to rush everything to get everything out and like build, because I think that's what happened with Marvel in Phase 4 and onward. Like they were trying to rush to get all of these films made, and it became,
especially during COVID.
Yeah, it became like it was like too much, like it was in too much excess, right? So it was like there's just so much coming out, and there wasn't enough like cohesiveness in their properties. Nothing was really like meshing together well in comparison to the previous phases. So I think if they have the plan, execute the plan, and yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. Darcy?
Let me ask a question. When is Aquaman 2 slated to go out?
I think late next year, I believe.
Yeah.
End of the year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, overall, don't wait. I don't think that there needs to be like 5 years is a long time. I think if you wait 5 years, people are gonna forget about you. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like they can be like, you still work there? Like, no, I think absolutely they should just strike at the very first moment they can drop the first quality film of the new tone. I expect there'll be some form of a gap, right? But my hope is that it's like, okay, let's say 2023 or early 2024 is like the last set of old films, other than like Matt Reeves, just have him, let him do his thing. Okay. But other than that, let's say late 2024 is like the last, or it's the first film, and we kind of have this like big kind of gap in between. But the thing is, I feel like they need to keep, and James Gunn does a good job of this because he's on Twitter all the time and he's not holding back, is we need to be hyped into this direction. And I feel like we need featurettes and small things building up to where this universe is. I think you need to drop visual content that gets us hyped for a new world. And we'll just watch the other films like, well, is there anything else doing? No, I'll go see Aquaman 2, or we'll watch it because we got to talk about it on the podcast. But like, I don't want there to be a big gap, because I think once you set a new film and have a good tone, and we know James Gunn's actually going to like write and direct this one, and to be honest, like I was thinking about this while you're talking earlier, like thinking back to Zack Snyder, I like half of his visuals, let me put it that way, right? Like his visual style, half of the time it's like, wow, that's amazing, and then the other half time it's like, it's so comic booky, it doesn't feel real. Right? Like it doesn't fit, right? Or I can tell it's a set, right? Whereas when I was thinking of like Guardians of the Galaxy, like all the places felt real, and they're the most unrealistic places. Like they felt, other than like maybe a ship that's like too gaudy, and you're like, why in the middle of this ship is there like a 50-foot tall room that has like nothing in it, right? But I'm like, that has more to do with like probably the comic book accuracy of that character and what they would live in. But I just feel like we're going to get something that's so tangible, that's going to feel so strong, that once we get that first tone, it's not going to matter. We didn't need a break. We're just going to be like, wow, that's different. And then we're just going to want to see more of what that universe produces. And so, I mean, unless he totally messes up the first film, then we're just going to be like, yeah, you should take in some more time. But outside of that, it's going to completely shift things, and it's going to be like, yo, Marvel, like, get it together, no matter how good it is at that point. Doesn't matter if we're in the middle of an amazing Secret Wars movie and we're loving it, we're still going to see like as much of a tonal shift as the Batman is to everything else, but won't be like dark like that. Just mean that it's such a stark contrast. I feel like he's going to bring us something that's going to be impressive to what we've seen before. So
yeah, like I would say, like people online are freaking out about the Henry Cavill thing. People were reacting very strongly about the Wonder Woman news. But in terms of like all the other news, like it's been kind of like hit or miss. Like I would say that the most I've seen online was like Batman Beyond. People were like, "Oh, that would have been awesome to see," which is kind of what we've said. But at the same time, we're also saying like, were they the best people to run that? Now I will say that James Gunn would be the right person to take over as Batman Beyond. So if like he wanted to put that in his universe, I would be happy. But like let him just create his universe, and I'm happy to wait. Also, the fact that Henry Cavill is now he's now an executive producer for an Amazon TV series for creating like Warhammer TV series. I mean, the man quit Witcher. Technically did he get fired as Superman? Because
let's just say Hamada let him on.
He got let on for Superman, and then decided as a fallback he's going to do his own TV series on Amazon, where all the money is currently going. So like, I think he good. Like he had options.
I am so glad for him right now.
I knew actually you would be, because like you also called this too. I'm gonna give you a lot of praise today, Darcy. My man Darcy, I think it was in the last. No, actually, it was off air. We were discussing, and you were saying, I see I see Henry Cavill going on to make his own projects,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what's happening right now.
The man cares about source material, and I think he's wanted to do things, obviously, like as anybody as ascending over, as he said, 22 years in the business, he's obviously going to want to have ambitions. But he was very much, it's known that he was asserting himself very strongly into the Witcher production and was not getting along with people who were not respecting source material. So I think Henry Cavill, and then also remember, I was gonna make a reference of another person who he might be taking a note from, and I'm like, wait, he worked with them. I think he might have taken a note from Tom Cruise, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't call Tom Cruise for some advice in this, because Tom Cruise is the guy who goes, "I'm going to do Mission Impossible," and then comes out like, "Oh, I want to do this crazy stunt," and then the insurance company and the stunt people wouldn't support him, so he made his own production company so he could fire everything and control it in the next set of films. And then when he brings the stunt coordinator, like, "Oh, you can't do that," he fired them and got a different stunt coordinator who could help him figure out how to do what he wants to do. In that parallel, source material is Tom Cruise's stunts. So I wouldn't be surprised if you hit him up and he's like, so how would you approach setting this up? Because I want to do something, and I'm very passionate about it because he loves Warhammer. He loves Warhammer. So he's going to be very passionate about getting the right people. And I bet you someone like Tom Cruise is like, okay, this is what you're going to do. You need to set up like this, you need this, like this, like this, because he would respect the craft of what's happening here. So I'm excited. I have no idea anything about Warhammer other than
I don't know anything about Warhammer other than that they're like dolls you put up, like like paint and you put on like on display.
Yeah, and I've seen some like iconic Warhammer photos that like rendered art and stuff like that. But I'm more interested in Warhammer than I've ever been in my entire life. I have whatever this is. I know he's gonna make sure it's quality, and I'm excited to see him go that way and do something that he's passionate about.
People are also like screaming online for Marvel to scoop up Henry Cavill, and like they want him to play the Sentry, they want him to play Captain Britain. I'm just like,
Dr. Doom.
No.
Yes. No. Dr. Doom.
No.
Yes. The man's already proven he can do different voices. He can throw down the accent, and he's intimidating as all hell physically. So you can cover his face, and you just be a beast on set. Beast.
I don't know. I don't see it. T, how do you see it?
Well, I mean, the fact that he's a major geek, I think that it's a good move for him. He cares about the project, and that's ultimately what you want from any actor, especially if they have a little bit more control over how the property is going to be executed. Yeah, so that's a big plus, because a lot of actors may like the source material, but actually have no control and hate the project. Ryan Reynolds, for example, in Green Lantern. He still shits on that movie till this day.
Even though that movie gave him a wife and 4 kids.
That is true. That was the only benefit of that movie for him.
I mean, it is a huge upside.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, it's like, hate the film, love everything it brought me.
Yeah.
All right. So
yo, hold up. Before we move on, Tactix. Do you like Henry Cavill as Dr. Doom?
I don't know if I see it yet, man. I think he can play.
I think it firstly, bro.
I think he can play a villain, because I mean he was a villain in the Mission Impossible film. However, when I see Dr. Doom, I don't see Henry Cavill.
No.
I don't know who I see in the role yet, but Yeah, it's not him.
Mm,
It's definitely not him.
We move on.
Okay, moving on. So our next topic, we are going to be quickly discussing, even though because we know very little about this, but there has been a trailer that got dropped this past week called The Boys Gen V. Basically, it's going to be a mix between the Hunger Games and The Boys, which that is fascinating. Really, it's going to be like young soups who are going to be going to a university of like crime fighting or something that's run by Vought International, and well, you can pretty much figure out what happens after that.
Holy crap. I didn't know the premise. I just saw the visuals and I was like, I don't care. It's the boys. I mean, like, I don't care. I'm in. But now that you said Hunger Games meets the boys, oh man, this is gonna be like Saw. Like, this is gonna be bad. Like, when you watched Hunger Games and you're like, oh, they have to kill each other, and you were expecting it to be like brutal because they had like swords and stuff, and then it was kind of like they PG'd it, and you're like, it's like it didn't feel that brutal. Yeah, this is gonna feel like what we were expecting it to be like.
Yeah. Like I'm on the same page as you, bro. How about you, T? Like, what are your thoughts on this premise?
So I didn't know it was going to be a mixture of Hunger Games, so that kind of has me a little bit more intrigued. Like prior to hearing that, when I watched the trailer, I was like, okay, like this just it looks like just snippets of what we have seen in The Boys. A lot of violence, a lot of gore. My thing is, I hope, and based off of the premise, it does sound like an original idea in terms of the direction that they're going. My hope is that they're not. It doesn't become a thing where they're now trying to compete with the boys in terms of how, like, I don't want them to be in a position where they have to one up each other and be like, oh, like you guys like blew up a dick, we're gonna blow up someone's asshole or some shit. Like just make it different, but not to the point where you're trying to like go over the top with the gore and everything unless it makes sense. So that's my only thing.
I will say like that the story is based off a story from The Boys, like a story written as part as in the comic book. But I'm assuming they're like taking that concept and just like running with it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I love The Boys. The Boys has been getting better and better with each season, and I'm definitely gonna check this one out. At the moment, I'm just more excited for The Boys, to be honest. But I have nothing to go on for this other than the trailer. So yeah, it looks fun. I'll check it out and see how it is.
Yeah. Before we move on, the thing I was thinking about this, and I was thinking this before you mentioned what the full concepts is, but I think even more so now, is like I looked at this like, okay, since they exposed the whole what the thing that
Compound
is
V.
Compound V. I couldn't remember the other word. Since they exposed it, it looks like this to me being a show is like the reaction to the snap in Marvel, right? Where it's like, okay, now when we have this effect, that affects the entire universe, what happens? How do other things react? And we saw some stuff in films, and we're like, okay, yeah, this is how like people are coping or not coping with the repercussions of it. And for this, it's more like, okay, let's explore the effect on the Earth by what happens now that they've exposed that superpowers are actually like a man-made thing. And I kind of feel like, okay, so that's one piece to it, right? But I think, okay, what's the point of doing that just to like say that, right? Like, okay, there's what happened Compound V. But then when you say this Hunger Games thing, I'm like, what if the point of this is like
Hunger Game is in a university, just so you know, like it's like a university setting where they're doing Hunger Games shit.
Yeah, and whether or not it's like planned or just like a coincidence, like not coincidence, like a consequence. So like people find about Compound V, and then all of a sudden in this one university, it goes from like literally like somebody gets the Compound V, and then all of a sudden it spirals out of control. The whole university gets like decimated as a reaction, but then it creates something, right? What does it create? A new villain or a new something. So I kind of think like this wouldn't, I don't think this necessarily, I mean, I'm going to take a guess here, but one direction that could go here is that this isn't setting up a multi-season show. This is setting off a one-off story told out over a season to build up character or characters to come back into the boys and to, you know, make the whole universe a little bit bigger. But you couldn't do that if you were focusing on the main character. So you have to like do a spin-off, have other characters, and expand out the width of the universe. And then when you have things come back later into the main story, it's bigger. That's kind of what I'm like feeling based off of what I'm seeing.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, like we'll get another like this. We only got a teaser trailer, so hopefully we'll get a full-on trailer, and we'll be able to talk about it more. So, moving on to our next topic, which is I'm just going to point out the fact that I'm not a fan of this, but here we are. Once again, Netflix has decided to make an anime adaptation of a beloved anime. In this case, My Hero Academia. Now, for those of no. Anyway,
this is a bad start.
Hey,
This is accurate.
yeah, no, 100%. So, like we have discussed in the past, I personally am not a fan of live action adaptations of anime. I don't think they work. I don't think they should be done anymore. But Netflix is like, no, we can figure this out, and they haven't yet. But here we are. I actually really like My Hero Academia. I do see that it is possibly the most capable of being adapted because like the whole premise of the show is making fun of it's like Japan making fun of the North American obsession with superheroes. That's kind of like how this started, which then like became its own thing, which is now like really awesome. But like, yeah, I'm not a fan of this, but I want to hear what my bros think. Darcy, let's start with you, man.
First off, I have to make an apology to both of you. I did not realize that when you posted this in the WhatsApp group, and I liked it with a heart, that it said live action. I thought it said the movies, like the existing ones, had been ported over to Netflix so we could watch them there. So I was like, oh, we get to watch those ones at like on like whatever. I'm like, that's dope. And then you just said live action. I was like, what? I just went back to our group chat, found the message, and unhearted it because I was like, no, I cannot have liked that post. I cannot have done that. That is
you can't have that on record.
No, take it. I rescind
Pull it
my like,
back, baby. Pull it back.
Exactly. Yeah. They fucked up with Death Note. Okay. They fuck up Full Metal Alchemist. I watched like I literally tried to watch part of it, fell asleep, woke up, like it was it. Like
they fucked up on Bleach.
I wasn't gonna do that. There is literally zero chance. And I'm sorry, like for the most part, most anime characters are based off of Japanese people or Asian people of Asian descent. Sometimes they're based off of like other nationalities or ethnicities. But every time I see these live adaptions, I look at them and be like, they don't look like they're the same race as what's in the show. And so I'm like, how is it based off of your ethnicity and nobody in your ethnicity looks like the anime? That fundamentally means stop trying. Because it doesn't look like Midoriya looks like a little girl. Like I can't.
I think it is a woman who's playing him.
Okay, that's fair. And that's not the character though. Like, No, this. I mean, the burn looks good. Just no. This is just no.
Okay, I will say that these aren't official. Are these official images from like the live action thing?
I don't know. I just found whatever, bro.
Okay. He's just like, I just went on the internet. Okay, so we will say that these aren't official images, but at the same time, I don't see them being that much better.
Yeah.
So, T, how about you, man? Like, what are your thoughts on? Because, like, you have just started watching the latest season of My Hero Academia, so like, you still have a fairly well-versed, understanding of what we're talking about. So, like, what are your thoughts on a live-action adaptation?
So I just feel like they haven't cracked the code when it comes to bringing these adaptions to the big screen. I just don't think it's possible. I feel like certain just regular hold on, sorry, I gotta kick this user out.
Yeah.
I feel like with certain cartoons you might be able to get away with it. Like they've cracked the code with Sonic, for example. Like they found a way to make that work. You know, like they weren't gonna make Sonic an actual real hedgehog talking and shit, so they had to kind of animate him and make him 3D and whatnot, which worked. It's fine and whatnot. They're doing Mario. It's not at all live action, but they found a way to like be like, okay, you know what? The live action shit didn't work out in the 90s, so let's just stick to the animated shit, right? I don't know how you crack the code with actual anime, because
you can't.
You just can't. It's just the way that they talk, the way that the action is shot, like everything that is that encompasses anime, it just doesn't translate well on the big screen. It's the same thing. It's the same argument that you can have for certain superheroes that get crossed over or that are adapted into live action. Like, you know, having the X-Men wear their traditional suits. Like, I don't know how you make that work exactly. You know what I mean? Like, and like, so
I would say the one time it worked, or actually, no. This show actually proves and disproves your point, because Titans, like you Tactix have said, Hawk and Dove's outfits.
Bullshit. Bullshit. You mean to tell me that these motherfuckers are walking around in that shit fighting crime? Fuck out of here, yo. No fucking way. Bullshit.
Those wings?
But Nightwing.
No way.
But Nightwing looked good.
Nightwing looks good, but Hawk and Dove don't, man. That's straight ass, bro. It's like if
they would have people who like are criminals,
and those motherfuckers rolled up on me, I'll be like, "Yo, Comic-Con's that way, fam. Leave me alone while I break into this bank real quick." Like, there's no way, yo.
I can see people who like coming out of a bar, see them like dressed like that, about to fight crime, and like hassling them.
Exactly. So some just don't translate well, and I'm looking at all of these. Like they look good like from a photo perspective, but to see this in like actual action, nah, dog, nah, this doesn't. Bro, I can already tell you right now, this don't work.
Did you just say these all look good from a photo perspective? Our bubble dude out there looks like somebody's auntie.
I was just going to say that.
Be a little boy.
I was going to be like, T, did you see?
No, okay. So Fire and Ice Guy. I like the look looks accurate to. It looks pretty accurate to the actual anime, so I give props to that. Midoriya, nah, son, that's just not working for me.
The women look most accurate in this.
Yeah, the girls look good. Their teacher, the long haired black.
He looks decent. I'll say
he looks decent.
Nah, he looks like a cross between what he's supposed to be and a pirate. Like, I'm not into it. that fake beard is just It's just
What if he grew that beard?
No, I don't care, man. I don't care. No, this it didn't.
I think it looks okay.
No,
Look,
I'm
fine
with you,
with
T. I'm with you, T, on this one.
I'm fine with that. The all like the disheveled All Might looks kind of accurate, I guess. But everything else is kind of like I'm just imagining them like in motion,
Look at
like actually
Shigaraki,
moving.
man. Like those hands look like clay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that shit is ass. I'm sorry. But,
Yo,
so yeah, it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. No matter how hard they try, they gotta figure out. I don't know how they would figure it out in terms of making the adjustments for it to be believable on the big screen. I don't know how you do it, man.
You can't get this right.
Yeah.
The reason being, there's two major elements to anime that the Western society doesn't understand, or one they don't understand and one they just can't do. The visual aspect of anime is like impressionistic painting at times, and then how are you going to make that concrete? You can't, unless you are. The only way that they can get this. And I actually, as I think of this is the only way someone can get anime. As I say this, I like this. What was the film that they did with oh my God, what's his name? Oh, this sucks. It's oh, I can't remember. He's a really small, skinny, nerdy dude, and he's trying to get the Michael Cera. Remember what's the movie he did with Michael Cera? Scott Pilgrim. If you go down the Scott Pilgrim route, which was heavily anime inspired, is the only way you can get close, because you are actually imitating anime, not trying to make anime match something it's not. Because the strong visual style is very impressionistic, and two, the other important part of anime is the fundamental understanding that generally it's about the person like already being powerful and learning how to it's not an underdog story. It is fundamentally the opposite, and I'm just pissed they can't do this.
The thing is too, like the anime is such a niche demographic that it's almost not worth the investment to make this a live action movie.
But also the only way you can do this, because the way they have been doing this is they do their own thing, which pisses off everyone, or they do such an intense adaptation, that it's weird. And honestly, it's not like Disney has cracked the code either. Aside from the Jungle Book and maybe Beauty and the Beast, all of their live action adaptations of their classic stories have not gone well. Especially the live action Lion King.
Yeah, that was some bullshit.
Yeah. So it's not like the West has taken care of it. They haven't either. It's just to stop. The 2015 to 2022 has proven that we should not be doing this no more. So Netflix, you guys are already struggling. This is a dumb move. You shouldn't do this.
Yeah, I agree.
You stop making animated things live action. What they should be doing is make live action things animated.
I'm down with that one. 100% down with that one.
Things. Okay.
Yep. No, I'm 100% down on that one. On that note, moving on to our final topic, is going to be about Marvel. Now, we haven't talked about Marvel in a while now because DC's just been blown up. So right now we've gotten some big news that Marvel is slowing the fuck down. Apparently, Phase 4 pissed off a lot more people than just us. There was a lot of internal analyses and issues and people being upset and Kevin Feige being stretched thin. And Marvel Studios has now decided to focus more on special presentations, 45 minutes to an hour format rather than 6 to 9 episodes on Disney Plus shows. I think the whole Guardians of the Galaxy winter holiday special probably did that. But also, there will not be changes in the movies that are coming out in 2023, except for maybe the Marvels movie that might be delayed until November. but like they're changing it up where they're, instead of going to be throwing out as much content as possible, they're maybe going to start doing three movies a year approach going forward, and they're going to be restructuring or potentially scrapping entirely Disney Plus projects, like the TV series is like, I think like Echo and Agatha Harkness, and I feel there was one more, Ironheart. So yeah, that's currently what's going on the Marvel front as they move into Phase 5 and Phase 6. I want to hear. Well, actually, I really want to hear what Tactix has to say, because I mean, not to put you on the spot, T, but like, out of all of us, you've been the most vocal about Phase 4.
Yeah, not a fan of Phase 4 at all. I think this is a good move because I feel like they were cramming a lot of shit in unnecessarily, and I think they got a little too overzealous with their plan, whatever the fuck that is. The TV shows, I mean, they were okay in terms of adding background context to the overall storyline, but again, we still don't really know what direction they were trying to go in, other than maybe like setting up for the new Avengers and movies and the Kang introduction. But aside from that, it's like, well, where else, like, what's going on here? So I think the delay and the cancellation of the shows, while some of them were fun, I feel like focus on the main heavy hitter, which is the movies, and then don't feel like you have to come up with like 5 shows a year just to
Yeah.
fill in the gaps. You know what I mean? If you want to do one show, sure. If it's conducive to the rest of the storyline, even better. But yeah, the delays don't really bother me at this point because we haven't seen anything from Fantastic Four. We don't know anything about that. We had a little teaser for Deadpool. Well, an announcement rather.
Yeah.
Blade, I really want them to take their time because that, like, he has some big shoes to fill. So I want that to be good. So yeah, I don't mind this news at all.
Darcy?
Yeah, I mean, quality over quantity here. I attribute this 100% to Bob Chapek and his exit, finally allowing them to take a breath and actually focus on that quality, because it seems like Disney Plus push was his idea, and maybe they had a plan for those movies and those shows, and maybe the plan for those shows is that they were actually supposed to come out over like a longer multi-year perspective, and when they would have had more time to make those shows work well. But I think he pushed it years ago, whatever, and we ended up with what we ended up with, and now he's gone. And yeah, I think Marvel's going to go back to form and focus on that quality. So I'm glad to see it because yeah, I don't need a ton of content that's mediocre over time. I need, I don't have a problem with them doing shows. Like, if they want to do more shows, do shows. Just make them quality shows and give yourself time to actually make the show what it should be. That's it.
Yeah, like just to finish off, I'm gonna say that I agree with both of you, and very much so. And like on Darcy, on your point, like I think Chapek was the reason why they, even though COVID like seriously affected a whole lot of the shows that we watched in Phase 4, he just was like, let's get it out, let's get it out, let's get it out. Versus now, I think they'll be like, okay, like let's say for example, Eager was in charge during the COVID time, it would have been like, no, take your time, like go back and fix everything. So hopefully that's what's going to be going forward. I'm happy about the delays. I want quality again. I don't need to have my superhero fatigue increase. Tone it down. Give us what we want. Give it to us in like sporadically, and make them all good that we're like excited for the next one, as opposed to being like, oh god, I hope it's okay. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. I didn't think I said anything new on that one. So yeah, T, I'm going to volley this back to you, brother, to finish us off.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Whether you tuned in now or you're going to plan on tuning in later, we appreciate you. Please like, favorite, and subscribe. As always, you know where to find us every Friday at 6 p.m. But until then, This is your boy Tactix. This is the Geeky Bros Podcast.
Yo, just Darcy here.
And this is Big Geek Umar. To have a good night, everybody, and live long and prosper.